Orange flames danced against the midnight sky as sirens wailed through empty streets. Emergency vehicles raced past abandoned cars, their red and blue lights casting eerie shadows on the faces of terrified parents clutching their children. The acrid smell of smoke mixed with the sound of breaking glass, while helicopter searchlights swept across the burning remains of Jefferson Elementary School. All units. We have multiple structure fires across the district. The dispatcher's voice crackled through police radios. Schools on Maple, Oak, and Pine Streets are fully engulfed. Mass evacuations in progress. 6 hours earlier, the Riverside Special Education Center had been filled with the cheerful sounds of after-school programs. Marcus Thompson, a 12-year-old with Down syndrome, carefully arranged wooden blocks, while his aide, Sarah Martinez, encouraged his efforts. The boy's concentrated expression softened into a proud smile as he completed his tower. "Look, Miss Sarah, I built the tallest one," Marcus announced, his words slightly slurred but clear with excitement. "That's wonderful, Marcus. You're getting so good at this," Sarah replied, genuinely impressed by his improvement over the past months. In the corner of the room, Emma Chen sat in her wheelchair, painting watercolor flowers with steady, deliberate strokes. Despite her cerebral palsy, her artistic talent had earned recognition throughout the school district. Her painting depicted sunflowers reaching toward a bright blue sky, each petal rendered with remarkable detail. "Emma, your technique is improving every day," said Mrs. Rodriguez, the art teacher who volunteered her evenings to work with special needs students. "Have you thought about entering the citywide art competition?" Emma's eyes lit up as she nodded enthusiastically. Communication was difficult for her, but her artwork spoke volumes about her inner world and dreams. Karen Blackwood moved through the hallway with her industrial mop bucket, the wheels squeaking against the polished linoleum floor. At 43, she had worked as the school's head custodian for nearly 8 years, maintaining the building's cleanliness with military precision. Her sharp features and permanent scowl had earned her a reputation among students and staff as someone to avoid whenever possible. The special education wing particularly irritated her. These children left more messes, required more attention, and, in her opinion, consumed resources that could be better spent elsewhere. She had repeatedly complained to Principal Williams about the after-school programs, citing increased cleaning costs and overtime expenses. "They don't belong here," she muttered under her breath while wiping down windows. "Normal kids shouldn't have to deal with this disruption." That evening, as Sarah helped Marcus pack his art supplies, she noticed Karen lingering near the supply closet. The custodian seemed unusually interested in their activities, watching from the shadows with narrowed eyes. When Sarah made eye contact, Karen quickly turned away and busied herself with unnecessary cleaning. "Something doesn't feel right," Sarah whispered to Mrs. Rodriguez as they prepared to leave. "Karen's always been hostile toward our programs," Mrs. Rodriguez replied quietly, "but she wouldn't dare interfere directly. The principal supports what we do here." 20 minutes after the last student departed, Karen retrieved her cell phone from her pocket. Her hands trembled slightly as she dialed 911, rehearsing the words she had been planning for weeks. 911. "What's your emergency?" "This is Karen Blackwood at Jefferson Elementary School. I need to report suspicious activity. I just witnessed several disabled children with matches and accelerants. They were talking about burning down the school." The dispatcher's tone shifted immediately to high alert. "Ma'am, are you certain about what you saw?" "Absolutely certain. I saw them hiding materials in their backpacks. These kids, they're unpredictable, dangerous." The Marcus Thompson boy was holding a lighter, And that wheelchair girl had some kind of chemical container. We're dispatching units immediately. Please remain on the line and stay in a safe location. Within 15 minutes, police cars surrounded the Thompson family's modest home on Cedar Street. Marcus was in his pajamas, brushing his teeth before bedtime, when officers pounded on the front door. Police open up immediately. David Thompson, Marcus's father, opened the door to find 6 uniformed officers with their hands on their weapons. What's going on? Is there some kind of emergency? We need to speak with Marcus Thompson regarding suspicious activity at Jefferson Elementary, Officer Davis announced, pushing past David into the living room. Marcus. He's 12 years old and has Down syndrome. What could he possibly have done? Sir, we have reports that your son was involved in planning arson at multiple school sites. We need to search the premises and question the boy. Linda Thompson emerged from the kitchen, her face pale with shock. This is insane. Marcus can barely tie his shoes. He would never hurt anyone or anything. As officers searched Marcus's room, the bewildered boy stood in the hallway, wearing his superhero pajamas, tears streaming down his face. He didn't understand why strangers were going through his belongings, but he knew something terrible was happening. Mommy, why are they here? Did I do something bad? Marcus asked, his voice breaking. Before Linda could answer, Officer Davis announced, We found art supplies and what appears to be chemical containers in the boy's backpack. Those are watercolor paints, Linda protested. He takes art classes at school. Ma'am, we're going to need to take your son in for questioning. We also have reports about Emma Chen and several other students from the special education program. Across town, similar scenes played out at 5 other homes as police rounded up children ranging in age from 8 to 14. Parents watched in horror as their disabled children were treated like dangerous criminals, loaded into police cars, while neighbors gathered on sidewalks to witness the spectacle. The Chen family lived in a 2-story house on Elm Street, where Emma's paintings covered nearly every wall. When officers arrived, her mother, Dr. Lisa Chen, was helping Emma with her physical therapy exercises. There must be some mistake, Dr. Chen insisted as officers entered her home. Emma has cerebral palsy. She can barely walk unassisted, let alone plan some kind of criminal activity. We have credible reports that these children were involved in a conspiracy to commit arson, Officer Martinez explained. We need to take Emma in for questioning and search for any incendiary materials. This is discrimination, pure and simple, Dr. Chen replied, her voice rising with anger. You're targeting these children because they're disabled and vulnerable. As Emma was helped into a police car, her confusion was evident. She kept trying to sign to her mother, asking what was happening. But the officers didn't understand sign language and treated her attempts at communication as potential resistance. News of the arrests spread rapidly through social media and local news channels. By midnight, Disabled Kids Arson was trending on Twitter, with hundreds of comments ranging from outrage to support for the police action. Finally, someone is taking action against these dangerous kids. One comment read, "Special needs doesn't mean they can't be criminals." This is absolutely disgusting, another user replied. These are children with disabilities being scapegoated by incompetent police work. At 1:17 a.m., the first fire erupted at Oak Street Elementary, quickly followed by blazes at Pine Street and Riverside Middle School. The flames spread with alarming speed, consuming classrooms, libraries, and decades of student artwork and memories. Fire Chief Rebecca Santos arrived at the Oak Street scene to find the building completely engulfed. "This is arson, no question," she told her lieutenant. "Someone used accelerants throughout the building." By dawn, 3 schools had been reduced to smoldering ruins, with damage estimates exceeding $12 million. The 6 disabled children remained in custody, while their parents hired lawyers, and the community demanded answers. Mayor Patricia Walsh convened an emergency press conference at City Hall, facing a mob of angry reporters and concerned citizens. Camera flashes illuminated her exhausted face as she approached the podium. "The investigation into last night's fires is ongoing," she began, her voice strained. "We're working closely with federal arson investigators to determine the exact cause and sequence of events." "Mayor Walsh," interrupted Channel 7's lead reporter, "why were disabled children arrested hours before the fires even started? What evidence did police have?" "I can't comment on an active investigation, but I want to assure the public that we take all threats seriously, regardless of the source." "Are you saying that 8-year-olds with developmental disabilities are credible arson threats?" pressed another journalist. The mayor's face flushed as murmurs of disapproval rippled through the crowd. "We followed proper protocol based on the information we received." Dr. Amanda Foster, a child psychologist who worked with several of the arrested students, stood up in the back of the room. "Mayor Walsh, I've evaluated these children extensively. None of them possess the cognitive ability or physical capability to plan and execute complex arson. This is a tragic case of discrimination and scapegoating." The press conference devolved into chaos as parents of the arrested children pushed forward, demanding their release and answers about the real perpetrator. Meanwhile, Fire Chief Santos had been conducting her own investigation at the crime scenes. Something about the fire patterns didn't match the timeline of the arrests. The blazes had been set with professional precision, using techniques that required extensive knowledge of building layouts and accelerant placement. "Lieutenant, look at this," she called to her second-in-command while examining the remains of Jefferson Elementary. The fire started in the custodial area, not in classrooms where children would have access. "That's strange. Why would kids start a fire in the basement near the boiler room?" Chief Santos studied her notes from the previous crime scenes. "Because they didn't. Someone with intimate knowledge of these buildings set these fires. Someone who knew exactly where to place accelerants for maximum damage." She requested security footage from all 3 schools, discovering that cameras had been systematically disabled before each fire. The only exception was a traffic camera across from Jefferson Elementary, which had captured a figure leaving the building at 11:45 p.m., nearly 2 hours after the children had been arrested. The footage was grainy, but it clearly showed someone carrying what appeared to be gasoline containers and wearing a maintenance uniform. More importantly, the figure walked with a distinctive limp that Chief Santos recognized. At 3:00 p.m. on Wednesday, Chief Santos arrived at Karen Blackwood's apartment with 2 fire investigators and a search warrant. Karen answered the door in her nightgown, claiming she had been sick with the flu since Tuesday evening. "Ms. Blackwood, we need to search your residence in connection with the school fires," announced investigator James Mitchell. "I already told the police everything I saw," Karen replied, her voice shaky. "Those disabled kids were planning this for weeks. I just happened to witness their final preparations." "Ma'am, we have security footage showing someone leaving Jefferson Elementary at 11:45 p.m. on Tuesday. Someone matching your description and gait pattern." Karen's face went pale as investigators pushed past her into the apartment. Within minutes, they discovered gasoline containers, matches, building blueprints, and most damning of all, a lockbox containing over $40,000 in cash and jewelry. "Where did this money come from, Ms. Blackwood?" Chief Santos asked, photographing the evidence. I saved it over the years. It's my retirement fund." "These are school property tags on the jewelry. You've been stealing from the lost and found, haven't you? From student lockers and teacher purses." Karen's composure cracked as the weight of evidence mounted against her. "You don't understand the pressure I was under. Principal Williams was conducting an audit next week. He was going to discover the missing items, and I'd lose my pension. So you decided to burn down the schools to destroy the evidence and blame innocent children." "They're not innocent," Karen screamed, her mask of civility finally falling away. "Those freaks cost the district thousands of dollars, special teachers, special equipment, special everything. They don't contribute anything meaningful to society." Chief Santos stared at Karen with disgust. "Ms. Blackwood, you're under arrest for multiple counts of arson, theft, filing false police reports, and endangering the welfare of children." News of Karen's arrest spread even faster than the original accusations against the disabled students. By evening, all 6 children had been released from custody, but the damage to their families and community trust was immeasurable. Marcus Thompson sat in his bedroom, surrounded by his parents and Dr. Foster, trying to process what had happened to him. The bright, cheerful boy who had built block towers just days earlier now flinched whenever he heard sirens or saw strangers approaching. "Why did the lady say I was bad?" Marcus asked his father, his voice barely above a whisper. David Thompson struggled to find age-appropriate words to explain hatred and prejudice to his innocent son. "Some people are scared of things they don't understand, Marcus. They think being different is the same as being dangerous." "But I'm not dangerous. I don't hurt anyone." "We know that, son. Everyone who loves you knows that." Emma Chen had stopped painting entirely since her arrest. The girl who once created beautiful sunflowers now sat staring out her bedroom window, her art supplies untouched on the desk. Her mother, Dr. Chen, had filed formal complaints against the police department and was organizing other parents for a class action lawsuit. The 6 families met at the community center on Friday evening, sharing their experiences and planning their response to the traumatic events. Sarah Martinez and Mrs. Rodriguez attended to offer support and testimony about the children's character and capabilities. "We can't let this destroy our kids' futures," declared Michael Torres, father of 8-year-old Isabella, who had autism. "They need to know the community supports them." The question is, how do we rebuild trust when the system failed so spectacularly? Asked Dr. Chen. Sarah Martinez stood up, her voice firm with determination. "We demand accountability, not just from Karen Blackwood, but from every official who participated in this travesty without questioning the evidence." Word of the meeting spread throughout Riverside, and by Saturday morning, over 300 community members had gathered at City Hall, demanding Mayor Walsh's resignation and comprehensive police reform. "These children are our neighbors, our future, and our responsibility," shouted Revens, Michael Adams from the steps of City Hall. "What happened to them is a stain on our entire community." Local business owners had organized a fund to support the affected families and rebuild the destroyed schools. The Riverside Teachers Union pledged to provide free tutoring and counseling services for all 6 children. Mayor Walsh, facing the largest protest in the city's history and a formal recall petition, announced her resignation at a somber press conference Sunday afternoon. "I take full responsibility for the failures in judgment that led to this tragedy," she stated, her voice breaking with emotion. These innocent children and their families deserved better from their elected officials. Police Chief Robert Martinez also stepped down, acknowledging that his department had acted on prejudice rather than evidence. 3 officers involved in the arrests were suspended pending federal civil rights investigations. 6 months later, Karen Blackwood stood before Judge Patricia Morrison for sentencing. She had pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. But her crimes had devastated not just buildings, but human lives. "Ms. Blackwood," Judge Morrison began, her voice stern but measured, "your actions represent the worst of human nature, targeting the most vulnerable members of our society to cover your own crimes. You will serve 15 years in state prison, with mandatory counseling for bias-related offenses." Karen's lawyer had tried to argue for leniency based on her mental health struggles, but the judge was unmoved. The defendant showed calculated malice in her planning and execution of these crimes. She destroyed not just buildings, but the sense of safety and belonging of 6 innocent children. The new mayor, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, had been elected on a platform of inclusive community building and police reform. Her first major initiative was the creation of the Riverside Center for Inclusive Education, built on the site of the former Jefferson Elementary. "Today, we're not just rebuilding schools," she announced at the groundbreaking ceremony. "We're building a community that celebrates every child's potential and protects their dignity." Marcus Thompson, now 13 and noticeably taller, stood with his parents in the crowd. He wore a yellow construction hat that the mayor had given him, and his smile had slowly returned over the months of therapy and community support. "Will my new classroom have art tables?" he asked his mother. "Yes, sweetheart, and better supplies than before." Emma Chen had not only resumed painting, but had won the citywide art competition with a piece she titled Phoenix Rising. The painting depicted children of all abilities working together to build something beautiful from ashes and ruins. The new schools incorporated universal design principles, making them accessible and welcoming to students with diverse needs. Security cameras were installed with strict oversight policies, and all staff received mandatory training on disability rights and inclusion. Sarah Martinez had been promoted to Director of Special Education Services for the district, a position created specifically to advocate for students with disabilities and prevent future discrimination. The federal investigation resulted in comprehensive police reforms, including bias training, mental health crisis intervention protocols, and a civilian oversight board with representation from disability advocacy groups. On a warm September morning, exactly 2 years after the fires, the Riverside Center for Inclusive Education opened its doors. Students with and without disabilities learned side by side in classrooms designed for collaboration and mutual support. Marcus Thompson, now a confident 8th grader, served as a student ambassador for the new school. His speech at the opening ceremony brought tears to the eyes of everyone present. "Some people used to think we were different in bad ways," he said, his words clear and strong. "But different just means we have different gifts to share. Our school is beautiful because everyone belongs here." Emma Chen's latest painting hung in the main hallway, a vibrant mural showing children of all abilities reaching toward a bright, inclusive future. Her artistic talent had earned her a scholarship to the State Art Academy, where she would study therapeutic art for disabled children. The 6 families had become close friends through their shared ordeal, creating a support network that extended throughout the community. Their children played together, learned together, and grew stronger together. Dr. Foster published a research paper documenting the psychological impact of bias-motivated false accusations on disabled children, contributing to national conversations about protecting vulnerable populations from discrimination. The Riverside community had transformed its darkest moment into a beacon of hope and inclusion. Property values increased as families moved to the district specifically for its reputation as a model of educational equity. Karen Blackwood served her sentence at Central Women's Correctional Facility, where she participated in mandatory bias education programs. Letters from some of the families she had wronged, letters of forgiveness, and hope for her rehabilitation, slowly began to change her perspective on disability and human worth. The new fire safety programs implemented throughout the district became a national model, combining practical emergency preparedness with education about accepting differences and reporting suspicious activity responsibly. 3 years after the fires, as Marcus Thompson graduated from middle school with honors, he reflected on how much his life had changed. The frightened boy in superhero pajamas had become a confident young man with dreams of becoming a teacher himself. "I want to help kids like me feel safe at school," he told his parents during graduation dinner. "Everyone deserves to learn without being afraid." The Riverside story had become a case study in universities nationwide, teaching future teachers, police officers, and public officials about the devastating consequences of prejudice and the transformative power of community response to injustice. Emma Chen's art studio, now located in the community center, offered free classes to children with disabilities throughout the region. Her paintings had been featured in national exhibitions, but she remained committed to her hometown and the children who needed to see themselves represented in art. The rebuilt schools featured memorial gardens, honoring the resilience of the 6 children who had been wrongly accused. Their names were inscribed on plaques beneath flowers that bloomed year-round, symbols of growth and renewal after darkness. As the sun set over Riverside on the 5th anniversary of the fires, the community gathered for its annual Unity Festival. Families of all backgrounds shared food, music, and stories of inclusion and acceptance. Marcus Thompson, now in high school and student body president, addressed the crowd with the confidence and wisdom of someone who had overcome tremendous adversity. 5 years ago, someone tried to use our differences to divide us, he said, his voice carrying across the festival grounds. Instead, we chose to let our differences make us stronger. That's the real lesson. We rise together, or we fall apart. The applause that followed echoed through the evening air, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of a community that had chosen love over fear, inclusion over prejudice, and truth over convenient lies. In the distance, the lights of the Riverside Center for Inclusive Education glowed warmly, a testament to the power of resilience and the endless potential that exists when every child is valued and protected. The flames that had once threatened to destroy their community had instead forged something stronger and more beautiful than what existed before. In Riverside, different was not dangerous. It was the foundation of their strength.